In a hotel on Bodega Bay, a team of scientists will discover a secret beyond their imagination.
For the moment, the secret of my magic and my puppets is safe. Maybe that's the Formula Toulon wrote about.
A power that a demon
It's showtime.
will kill to possess.
The magic that gives my puppets life was stolen from a tribe of ancient Egyptian sorcerers who pledged their allegiance to the demon lord Sutek.
What Toulon stole from me, we must recover.
Now, their only hope lies in Andre Toulon's deadliest puppet.
I am with you, Puppet Master.
Puppet Master 4, The Birth of Decapitron.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to a very special episode of Do You Even Movie? I'm, of course, your host, Henrique Couto, here with my good co-host, my good buddy. I want to call you a good co-host. You're my good buddy, but you're just an average co-host.
Fair co-host.
David D. Neuer, or as he will be called from here on out, Davey Boy himself.
Greetings.
And I am, by the time that this airs, which would be it'll air literally on my birthday.
On your birthday,
September 10th, I will be 38 years old.
Happy birthday.
Well, thanks. Where's my gifts?
Oh, you'll know. You'll know.
Yeah, this is the way I get treated.
By the time you all are hearing this, he will have gotten his gift, and I'm sure he'll talk about it on next week's show, or at least I'm sure it'll be.
I'm sure I'll have a lot to complain about.
Probably.
I'll be like, this sucks. It smells like feces. Why was this given to me?
You have no idea, and I can't wait.
No.
I can't wait.
So we've had quite an eventful day.
Yes, we have.
This is not the normal kind of Do You Even Movie recording day.
It is not.
Dave got his second root canal.
This is not a bit. I've literally gotten 2 root canals this week.
But I know what you're thinking. If you only know about root canals from movies and TV sitcoms, you think a root canal is a very, very, very painful procedure.
Mm-hmm.
That is a misnomer.
It is.
A root canal, the reason people think of root canals and a lot of pain is because root canals generally relieve a ton of pain.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, I'm going to get a root canal, they're already suffering.
Yeah.
The root canal stops the pain.
I had a bunch of people that were like telling me about dry socket, like, preventions and whatnot, and how
that's only if the tooth comes out.
Yeah, that's extraction, which I have unfortunately had.
Me too. This one's aftermarket.
Dry socket is no freaking joke. I've luckily never dealt with it, but I had a couple friends who did, and it sounds awful.
Yeah, the only people who deal with dry socket are like your girlfriends and stuff like that, Hey! No, but that being said,
yes,
you were a little nervous at first because you had your first one 2 days ago and then this one. But there was one shining voice of reason telling you it probably will barely hurt.
Bad.
Like it'll probably be like this much soreness. And it was just great because you got it done.
Yeah.
And then you got home and you realized how it was fully. And then your next text was, all right, I'm getting one on the morning of Thursday. You want to just get together, watch movies, and do the show afterwards?
Because so how this came about was because originally I was going to get one on what was going to be the 29th and then do my second one on September 10th. And
my
then
birthday.
It was going to be on your birthday. And unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about it because I was on a waiting list.
Right.
No further details to that. But anyway, my dentist called me last week and was like, hey, is there any chance we could get you on Monday? We got some scheduling conflict. And I was like, yeah, let me see. So then I was able to book them on the same week. And I even on the phone call with the entomologist, can't think of the exact name for the
dental technician.
Dental technician, call them that. Even with that phone call, I was like, is it wise to get them? Because I had one on opposite sides of the mouth. One that was on my top.
The amount of swelling from both at once would be pretty annoying.
Yeah. So I even asked them, I was like, is it wise to get them that close together? They're like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Like, it should be okay. If it was an extraction, no,
you need a week.
Yeah. But since it was a root canal. So we ended up being able to not only move off of your birthday so that we can do stuff today while people are listening to this.
Yeah.
But on top of that, too, we were able to make Thursday today because I took work off. We make it a double feature.
We made it a movie day.
Yes.
We went to the cinema. And we saw... what was
Strange Darling?
We saw Strange Darling first, which is just its second week in the theater and was hard to catch. We caught the 10:40 a.m. show.
Yeah, because it was basically two
showings every day,
and it was like a 4:15 and then like a 10:25 a.m.
For whatever reason, well, I think part of it was my theater. I live closer to where there's a lot of Indian population.
Yeah,
and they show a ton of Indian movies, and I think that might have had something to do with it because in Huber they were showing a ton of it.
Ton of them, okay.
But we got to catch it. I will say, Strange Darling, friggin' awesome movie.
Yeah,
completely sets you up to think it's going to be one thing that's very predictable and then turns out to be something completely different.
If there's one piece of advice that I can give is go in as blind as you can with this movie.
But do open your eyes to watch the film.
Yes. Do open your eyes
to watch it. The sound is good, but it's not as good as the visuals because it's shot on 35 millimeter
Here
film.
we go.
No. I don't inherently have a problem with making films in 2024 on feature film, on 35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
That's not my problem.
Yeah.
I loved Cuckoo. It might be one of my biggest horror films of the year for me personally. That was shot on 35 millimeter film. But you know what it didn't have? A big title screen at the beginning of the film that says shot entirely on
this
35
film was
millimeter
shot on
film.
35 millimeter film.
Shot entirely
on 35 millimeter film.
Because we were alone in the theater about, whoa! Yeah. When it showed up on the screen, I yelled, whoa, at the screen. But it was really good. So
it was a great flick. Absolutely.
Really enjoyed it. Then we took a little hour break.
Back up real quick before we get off Strange Darling. You might want to mention who the cinematographer is on the film.
Giovanni Ribisi, the actor.
The man who's known for getting silently stabbed in Saving Private Ryan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's a great actor. I will say that I enjoyed the film, but because they put that big shot on 35 millimeter film thing at the beginning, I leaned over to you every time a shot was out of focus. And said something. And I counted six times that I believe it was sincerely out of focus. Not a little out of focus, or like I might have been confused. 6 times. And I wouldn't have given a shit about that, if they just hadn't mentioned it.
Been up there.
But this was his first feature film as a cinematographer, which seems
very
like
promising, too.
Something he's been dabbling in.
Yeah, he actually appeared on another podcast, The Movies That Made Me, with Joe Dante and Josh Olson recently, and he's talking about British cinematographers that he favors. So he's been watching a lot of cinematography stuff up close, and also was doing some shorts, from what you said.
He did a bunch of shorts, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
To me, bragging about shooting on film is about as cool as bragging about how expensive your car is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I didn't arrive in a Camry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, because they all will get you there.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, what about the aesthetic? What about the aesthetic? Is a toilet made of gold better than a toilet made of porcelain? Maybe. I don't know why I chose a toilet, but I stand by that.
We're not even 10 minutes into the episode, and there's already been, I think, at least 2 to 3 rants.
Well, but I loved the movie. I just hate that attitude.
I know.
Because as a filmmaker, as that is my day job.
Yes.
One of the things I hate about filmmaking is how impossible it was to make an independent film when you are from any background that has less.
Yeah.
Until about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
To make a film that, in my opinion, could compete visually. You could make a movie on VHS, but it would never compete visually, no matter how well you lit it.
Yeah.
You could make a film on DV. It would never compete visually. You could compete story-wise.
Yeah.
But you could never compete visually. I mean, just look at, like, Chuck and Buck. Just look at Tadpole. Phenomenal movies.
Yeah.
They don't look like feature films. They look like videotape.
Yeah.
But they're excellent. Pieces of April.
Yeah. Pieces of April. Great one.
They're great, but they look like camcorders. But then when the digital revolution came to DSLR and we had interchangeable lenses on video, all of a sudden we could start to kiss what a feature film looked like in the indie world. And now we're at a point where this room we are recording in right now. I haven't been cutting the cameras because I'm being lazy today because it's my fucking birthday. But these 3 cameras that we do just our video podcast on are cinema quality to an extent. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, they're not really cinema. Well, where's your movie? Show me yours. Show me your feature film. I've made films on cameras cheaper than these and sold them to all the major services in America.
Yeah.
And right here, a camera we're not even using that I just have stored here is a full-powered Sony cinema camera.
Yeah.
That's what I make my day job stuff on.
Yes, it is.
I am not from incredible means. When I was young and it was time to discuss me potentially going to film school, my mother would have had to consider taking a mortgage on our home, not for tuition, for the cost of the film.
Yeah.
Because I was just old enough that colleges were not allowing you to shoot on video at all. And I understand why.
Yeah.
Because there's no art at that time. There was no art to the cinematography. But, I mean, there was, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I instead went out and just made DV movies. I made Marty Jenkins' The Vampire Bitches on DV. I made Faces of Schlock on DV. I made Bleeding Through, which is now available on Blu-ray for the first time ever at henflix.com.
Yes, it is.
I made that on what's called HDV. It was 720p high definition recorded to a DV tape.
That's insane.
It was amazing when it was happening. Now people would be like, oh, 720p. I agree. So anyway, my point is, great film.
Yeah, Strange Darling.
I just hate that attitude. I hate that attitude.
I mean,
so much.
It took us out of the film for just that split with that's why we joked about it, was because it was just like, fucking really.
Because it's pretentious.
Yes.
It is. It's pretentious. Now, it's one thing to have your movie be great and look good and sound good and be entertaining like Cuckoo did. And then at the end, it mentions like shot on Eastman Kodak 35mm film.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So it wasn't filters. They just shot this on film.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to applaud like a mouth agape seal because you did something slightly harder when you had $4 million to work with.
Fair enough.
Big whoop. Now call me when you're making the movie for $6,000. It's 80 minutes and it's on 35mm, and I'll go, holy shit, I want to see how you did that.
Yeah.
But
also fair.
But if you're making it for millions of dollars, it's like, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why not?
if I had $100,000 to work with, I could just make it on 35.
Yeah.
It'd be a little hard, but it wouldn't be impossible. Anyway.
But Strange Darling, highly recommended.
Really loved it.
Yes.
So, but then we saw, and it just came out.
Yes.
We saw
Blink Twice.
Oh, he got it right. Dave was calling it Don't Blink all day long.
It's been Don't Blink. Blink Twice has been the thing that I've been going back and forth with.
The best was we were riding in the car and you're like, Don't Blink. I'm like, actually, it's Blink Twice. No, it's Don't Blink. And I'm like, I'm buying the tickets. I'm literally. And then you got me doing it a little bit. That also, so the feature film directorial debut of Zoe Kravitz. Who is what's his name?
Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz. I Want to Get Away. I Want to Fly Away.
American Woman remake.
American Woman, yeah. She directed the film. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah.
It got a little weak in kind of the later part of the middle, but holy shit, did it plant that ending.
I would say beginning of the third act's a little rough. I think that's what we said we were walking out, but that ending is so strong.
And it's so rare I'll see a movie and be like, wow, it lost me for a second, but that ending killed it.
Yeah.
So that's big praise. I really enjoyed it. I recommend watching. Oh, wait, it didn't come out this week. It came out last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
But I really recommend watching Blink Twice. It was great.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, a great ensemble. One of the best reviews that is not very spoilery, but it is if you've seen the movie. For humor that I read on Letterboxd is "Don't worry, darling, the menu. Or don't worry, the menu, darling. Get out."
It has that. It has that vibe of the elevated horror films where people go away somewhere.
Yeah.
It definitely has that going for it.
It's a lot of fun, though. Keeps you guessing until, honestly.
It gave us like 4 really solid earned twists at the end.
Yeah.
It never did a twist and we were like, wow, that's a cop-out.
Yeah.
No, every twist it was like, that makes sense. And then the next twist you'd be like, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
And then the final twist you were like, damn, that makes sense.
And then that ending, you're just like, damn.
It was, right. I got little chills from thinking about the ending. The ending was so good.
So good.
Can't recommend it enough. So before we get into my birthday pick, which no one saw coming.
No. We didn't even, we gave no hints except for I think I said that it was a sequel.
You didn't see it coming.
Well, yeah, I tried.
How surprised were you?
50-50, I would say.
You would have never guessed I was going to pick Puppet Master 4.
No, but a Burr flick was on the spectrum of option, I think. So that was not, it wasn't the one I would have picked by any means, but yeah, I did see a Jeff Burr pick being in there somewhere.
Well, before we get to that, speaking of films that are getting ready to come out, Dave has treated us to Beetlejuice Haunted Apple Fanta. So let's try a taste of the soda company founded by Nazis. I don't know if it was actually founded by Nazis, but it was founded in Germany to compete with Coca-Cola when they stopped selling to Germany in World War II.
I actually really like it.
Pinkies up.
It definitely tastes like candy apple.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
But it's got some...
like a caramel.
The spice is really strong.
Yeah.
I mean, spice as in spiced apple or spiced pumpkin spice, not like... spices in like what I cook with daily, but
it tastes better than the Mountain Dew one that they had a while back that was apple.
You know what this tastes like? It tastes like spiced cider.
Yeah.
But with caramel.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unusual.
It doesn't taste like a pop.
It doesn't taste bad.
Yeah.
But this is not, I was expecting just a green apple soda.
Same.
And this is not green apple.
No.
It's way more Halloween fall flavor.
Yeah. Yeah, it tastes like a cider with the caramel with it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That's pretty good. I don't hate it.
So I'm not going to drink it that fast because I get sick.
So,
it's caffeine free.
Oh, well, thank God. So, this week we're going to talk about 1993's, or maybe it came out in 4.
No, it's 93.
1993.
Yeah.
1993's Puppet Master 4, directed by Jeff Burr.
Correct.
A film that I chose because I had carte blanche, as they say.
As the birthday boy.
To pick any film I wanted. And people were guessing, including you, people thought it was going to be Monster Squad or Terminator 2 or Eddie Presley, another Jeff Burr film.
Yep.
And to be honest, I dreaded picking it because I've been dealing with a lot. My girlfriend is moving in right now.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, this is going to be a shock. Moving, stressful.
Crazy.
Yeah. It turns out a whole other kind of moving is moving someone into your already space. Very, very challenging. It's going fine other than the usual stressors.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I'll go into detail someday when I have no other rant to do, but I am currently working on finding the right medication for my ADHD. I got diagnosed at 37 years old.
Yeah.
It has been a good journey, but it got a little weird recently.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into it.
We don't have to.
But I suffered from what you might call mania from the first medication they gave me. And that was after 3 weeks of joy, of like really good feelings and getting lots done. And people were even mentioning in comments and stuff how much more active and engaged I was in the last few episodes.
Yeah.
It's because I was on, I wasn't on Adderall or Vyvanse. I would admit if I was taking amphetamines because I have a hilarious joke about amphetamines.
He does.
But right now I am not on any stimulants. So anyway, but that's been also keeping me very busy. So on top of getting ready for October, which is just the busy season for my other podcast, as well as this one.
Yeah.
So with all that said, we're so far in and we haven't talked about the film yet. I want you, David, to start for once. And tell us how you first saw the film. And then I'm going to tell you
The story.
Hopefully a story that won't take the entire show.
Well, let's find out.
But a very important story to me.
Okay. So I first came to Puppet Master series, not just 4, but the series in college, because I went through a phase.
Wow, that late.
Yeah,
Wow.
I went through a phase of the Mill Creek collections. Like
Right.
once I found out how cheap, or maybe it was Echo Bridge. I think it was Echo Bridge.
I think it was Echo Bridge. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, Echo Bridge Collections, which for those not aware, Echo Bridge is a company that licenses a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they do discount. They do discount DVDs and compilation
stuff
collections.
You've never seen. Where it's like,
yeah.
you know, Katherine Heigl in the movie. Oh damn, what's that movie called? I can't think of it now. But like they would use pictures of stars on the films that had nothing to do with.
Well,
the movies.
they also occasionally put out bigger stuff like Halloween sequels and stuff like that.
Yeah,
yeah, and they were really most famous for being the discount box set company.
Yeah,
you get these 4 movies or get these 8 movies or what have you.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it was. Because Puppet Master, I'm pulling it up right now. I think Puppet Master was like the first 9 films, 6 or 9 films. I want to say.
7 was usually what got put together.
Yeah. Just checking here. Okay, here it is. Yep. First 9 movies. Yeah.
Wow.
So
what year did that come out then? It should be in the info down below. He's looking at Amazon.
Shut up.
I'm not picking on you. I mean, you're doing the research. 2012.
Yeah.
That late.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't know about that release.
Yeah.
So, because
I know
I
exactly
was into Puppet Master very young.
Why I got that release though too is because, and a lot of Echo Bridges is because I was working at FYE at this point. So
a video store for those who don't
Sam
have one
Goody,
around.
Suncoast, all those places. I was working at FYE at this point, and my discount when it came to that $5 and below bin.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. I could go home with a stack of 20, and I've spent $5 basically.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I was picking those out because I mean, some of those like where Curtains appeared first. Curtains was on a freaking Echo Bridge release.
Well, some of those films that get remastered by the bigger companies, are actually, and I'm not going to say which ones because I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah,
but a lot of them are actually public domain.
Yeah.
So places like Echo Bridge or Mill Creek or whatever may put out a version, but then it becomes a competition for places like Synapse, Shout, whatever, to put out the best version.
Well, because I remember when, I mean, off topic, but Lionsgate, Andy was hunting them down. I know a lot. Those Lionsgate collections that came out that had like Waxwork, The Unholy.
It was right after they bought Artisan.
Yes,
because Artisan had all those old Vidmark titles.
Yeah, so all those Vidmark titles went out. So I digress. So I got that collection, and I remember there were days that I had off of work, obviously, but then also with lining up with being on break from college, I would just do movie marathons. Sometimes with my roommates, sometimes with friends, or sometimes just by myself. And I'd never. He means
mostly by himself.
Mostly by myself. I'd never seen any of the Puppet Master films.
That's so wild to me. Had you seen the Boogeymen collection at least?
Yes, I'd seen. I'd seen the tunneler scene of them drilling and whatnot.
Right,
so I'd seen that, and I probably had seen various clips and scenes of them on Sci-Fi growing up.
Boogeymen was this collection that was released into Blockbuster Video.
Killer compilation.
The Killer Comp, and it was just a best of death scenes from mainstream horror movies, and also Puppet Master was in there.
Master,
the first one.
Yeah, but so I remember the first 2 not hitting me like I expected them to.
Really?
Yeah.
I love the second one.
I think the second one's great now. For some reason, 1 and 2, when I first watched them, I guess I expected more off the wall, like gore or something.
Yeah, they're pretty understated.
They're pretty tame. So then when we get to 3, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just higher budget, Nazis getting slaughtered by dolls.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you like if you like that kind of thing.
Because 3 is where we start to see them as basically the good guys.
They become good guys in that one, yeah.
4, though, they're full-on good guys.
Yeah, well, in the marketing of Puppet Master 3, it actually said bad puppets go good.
Go good, yeah. So 4 and 5, they become good. So I remember those sticking with me most. So 4 especially, I remember sticking with me though because I was aware of Jeff Burr at that point because I'm pretty sure you had given me Eddie Presley either that same year or the year before.
That's guaranteed.
So I was aware of Jeff Burr. So when I realized he had done 4 and 5, that's kind of how I got into him a little bit more, along with Eddie Presley. But yeah, that's how I first saw them. I was never a big Puppet Master fan, and I still really am not. But I enjoy them for what they are.
Sure, that makes sense.
So what is your story though?
Well, this is a lot, and I don't know about you, Dave, but when I turn a year older, I spend all of my time looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I've always been like.
Yeah.
I'm not a big dweller. I love to see what comes next.
Yeah.
It's why I started a business. It's why I started podcasts, because I want to see, can you do something? Where will it go? How's it going to happen?
Absolutely.
But when I turn a year older, I often take a moment and I look back. And I don't even know how I'm going to talk about it. So, man, it's really hard. When I was a boy, when I was a little boy, we bought a house, and it was such a big deal to get out of the situations I had grown up in.
Yeah.
And buying a house was the biggest deal in the world, but the house needed a ton of work, and my mother hated that part. I hated that part. I'm like 9, 10. But the thing that made me love coming to that house was that we would live near my Aunt Betty.
Yeah.
My great Aunt Betty, who was my grandmother, basically. She was always there for me and my sister and my mother. And I could walk to her house, which was the biggest, like, of moving to that neighborhood, was that I could walk to her house in 25 minutes. So I started visiting her all the time, because it used to be I only saw her on holidays and stuff like that. And Betty had the biggest satellite dish. This was back before DirecTV. If you had a satellite dish, it was giant and it pulled everything down, and it was expensive. But Betty loved watching her TV, and my Uncle Charlie, her husband, he was a tech guy. He was crazy for technology.
Yeah.
So they had this big satellite, and Betty would habitually tape everything.
I understand.
And she would just give me tapes, because she had a wall right next to her recliner of tapes she'd taped.
Yeah.
And one day, I don't remember when exactly, she gave me a tape and said, "Now, Rick, I think you'll like this." I took it home, and on the label in pencil, she always used a pencil, just said Puppet Master 4 and 5. I was probably 10, 11 years old. Never heard of it. I put the tape in, and I loved it. It was so fun.
Yeah.
And of all of the Puppet Master movies, 4 feels, although it's not appropriate for children, it feels the most like a kid's movie.
Yeah.
It's got the big suited monsters, giving exposition about like, I will destroy the Puppet Master. And it has the fun scenes with laser guns and robots, and it's got sci-fi, it's got fantasy, it's got horror.
Yeah.
I loved it. And it was an extended play tape. It looked like shit. For those who are reasonably younger, VHS tapes used to have a setting where in standard play, it was 2 hours long and looked okay. That's what you would buy at the store.
Yeah.
Extended play gave you 6. Actually, I am correct myself. I want to. No, it was a 6 hour.
It was a 6 hour. Okay. Yeah. Because I know there were 4 hours.
No, I correct myself. It was LP. Limited play.
Limited play.
Which made it 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then there was extended play, which was 6 hours. And LP ended up not being supported by later players. It was basically just SP or EP.
Yeah.
I watched that tape a bunch. I thought it was awesome. And Betty fed so much of who I am in a weird way. I lost her in 2021. And I miss her every day. But she was always so great. And she didn't just teach me to like movies or whatever. She taught me how to love people.
Yeah.
There was always food at her house. And I learned that that's how you love people. You feed them and you spend time with them. And I used to drop by her house unannounced into my 30s. And I remember she used to just call me and she'd be like, "Rick," and I'm like in my 30s.
Yeah.
"Rick, I made some spaghetti sauce and I'd really like it if you came and take some off my hands." And I'd come over and I would leave with these giant containers of spaghetti sauce, sometimes in Tupperware, sometimes in Country Crock
containers. Oh, yeah.
She was from Hazard, Kentucky. And you can take the lady out of Kentucky, but you can't take the Kentucky out of the lady.
No, you cannot.
And true Briar Hopper. And I loved her with all my heart. So I miss her. But that's not the end of the story. And I because it's my birthday, I'm going to light this cigar.
Okay.
This is Las Calaveras. These are special. For as long as time has gone on, tobacco has been a ceremonial thing for many people all over the world. This cigar is made to smoke when you remember people who are gone, like the calaveras, the sugar skull of the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
So, Puppet Master, loving Puppet Master. I went to the stores. I rented the other films. I thought they were all pretty bitchin'.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed them. So that led me to a message board about Puppet Master, which led me to meeting J.R. Bookwalter, which led me to my first job in film, which led me to so many things.
Yeah.
So, God, that's really good. So, from there, working with Tempe Video with J.R. Bookwalter, I did some work for him.
Yeah.
I discovered Eddie Presley, which became the movie that really inspired me to truly want to be creative and make movies.
Yeah.
And it was directed by, coincidentally, Jeff Burr, the director of Puppet Master 4.
That is correct.
A film I watched again and again and again. And then I watched Eddie Presley again and again and again. So, some years go by, and I am in Kentucky at a horrible film festival where they showed my movie in an empty room, a room with 3 people, including me and my cousin.
Yeah.
Not even a projectionist in the room. And afterward, I felt pretty shitty, but there was a guest at the show, and it was Jeff Burr. Now, prior to this, I had met Chuck Williams, one of the producers on Eddie Presley, and I had met Dwayne Whitaker, who I'm still friendly with. Dwayne's a great dude who played Eddie Presley and wrote the screenplay, but I'd never met Burr. He just was never around. So I said, fuck everything. I'm having a rough time. I've had a bad time. I'm getting in line for Jeff Burr's table. I'm buying another copy of Eddie Presley. I already have 3. Yeah. I'm buying another one just because I want him to sign it.
Hell yeah.
He signs it, and as he sells it to me, and as he's signing it, he's like, now, you know what you're buying, right? And I'm like, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And he looks at me like dead. He's just like, really? And I literally went, well, the opening scene where he where he wakes up in the van and eats a Cheeto and then washes it down with a cigarette is possibly one of the saddest and funniest things I've ever seen. And his face lights up. And for 40 minutes, we talk. And Burr was very special to me.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I had made 2 feature films as a director. And one of them was screening at that show. It was Bleeding Through, actually. I was just talking about. Burr starts saying, what about you? What do you do? What are you about? So I tell him I made a movie, and he's like, where can I see it? And I was like, I mean, I could send you a copy. And he's like, oh, I'd love to watch it. So I gave him the disc that they screened Bleeding Through off of.
Yeah.
And we said our goodbyes. He went home. I went home. Got an email a week later. Hey, babe. I always call everybody babe. Hey, babe. Really dug your movie. Felt like it had a lot to say. It seemed like you didn't have a lot to work with, but you really did your best. I enjoyed it. And tell me when you got more coming. So we met over the years many times at conventions and festivals. Every time I made a new movie, he asked for a copy.
Yeah.
He'd watch it immediately and tell me what he thought.
Hell yeah.
We became friends. And it was crazy because this was a person who had inspired me so much. A person who made the movie on the tape that Betty gave me. And it made me realize something that is really hard. It's easier now than it was then.
Yeah.
It made me realize the world is not so big that I can't navigate it.
Yeah.
That I could maybe have a career, even if I'm in Ohio, a place that the coastal elite cunts will call a flyover state. More cows than people, right, bro? Suck my dick. Hey, I've seen it all. I lived on the East Coast. I've worked in this business for 15, 16, 17 fucking years.
Yeah.
I've been full-time for 10. And I'll tell you right now, every time I've ever negotiated a contract with anybody in California, their first thought is, oh, well, this is going to be an easy negotiation. And then I rip their goddamn eyes out and get what I want. That's because of my mom, though. That's not because of Betty. Betty would have been like, now be polite. My mom would be like, kill them.
Yeah.
So my mother's a business person.
Yes, she is.
So Burr was even in one of my movies called Making Out, which you can watch on Tubi. It's a romantic comedy, and I wrote a role just for him because at that time...
Jean-Paul.
Jean-Paul! At the time, he was living in Dalton, Georgia, his hometown. His mother, who was very, very elderly, needed him.
Yeah.
So he was taking care of her. At this point, he was probably about 50, early 50s. I drove down there, met his mom, which was one of the greatest moments of my life. Because in her living room was a shrine
To Jeff, yeah.
to all of the films he'd made. Posters, postcards, video boxes, everything. It was a wonderful thing to see. We filmed Jeff's cameo. It took like 3 hours.
Stop for a second. You should interject the story with the cigar, though, about him leaving.
So he was playing a sleazy scumbag producer type. And as we're getting ready to shoot, he's like, hold on, babe. I need one thing. I'll be right back. He walks out. I hear his engine start and he drives off. I'm in a house I've never been to with the owner of that house who I just met. And I'm like, and he's like, I don't know where Burr went. He'll be back. Burr comes back. He went to a gas station and grabbed a cigar so that he could have it in his hand and chomp on it while he talks. Because he's like, babe, it'll make the character believable.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious in that movie.
So
I
good.
gave him offensive lines and he said them with joy. He was having a great time. And when it was all done, the way Jeff has always been, he was self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Jeff, for those who don't know, and you'll find out all about his career when Dave breaks it down, but he had directed movies I guarantee you've seen. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Stepfather 2, From a Whisper to a Scream. He directed so many films.
Yeah.
And he directed some bigger movies. I mean, Texas Chainsaw 3 was a nationwide theatrical film of a major franchise. Self-deprecating as hell, because he always was trying to make the next thing happen.
Yeah.
And he turned to me after we were done. I was like, Jeff, that was great. And he was like, hey, well, you know what I say? I gave you gold, but you got to mine it.
Yeah.
Which meant I had to edit around his cheesiness and flubs, but it was a joy. So we kept in touch for years. We'd occasionally run into each other. And last year on October 10th, Jeff suffered a stroke in his sleep and passed away. And I still don't believe it because I'd hear from him maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So I still feel like my email box is just going to pop and say, hey, babe, you know, what have you been up to? But he's gone. And I miss him a lot too. And when I watched Puppet Master 4 with you, my best buddy, my best movie buddy especially, I felt cozy.
Yeah.
I felt like I could be with them both again. And that's why I love movies. Because there's so much more than just sound and moving pictures. They are who we are. Who you were when you watched it. Who you watched it with. Who made it. They're all the same value.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I'm sure the IMDb score is like a 2 or a 3 on Puppet Master 4.
It is 5.1.
I'm shocked.
Out of 10.
Well, shit. I look like an asshole, and that's fine. But to me, those films will always mean something special because they'll remind me of being a child. They'll remind me of family, and they'll remind me of friendship. What more could you ever ask for from a film?
Absolutely.
So that, dear God, my friends, is why I picked Puppet Master 4. So there's not much to talk about the movie.
Not really.
But I wanted to watch it.
The birth of Decapitron, as we
of
found out, is the
Decapitron.
subtitle in the trailer.
Oh, now you want to bring up Charlie Band's follies to make me mean again, huh?
Would you like to get into the details of the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Burr, though?
David, I would like nothing more.
Then let's do it. So Jeff Burr gets his start in 1987 as a director on From a Whisper to a Scream, a.k.a. The Offspring, the one that Enrique mentioned that stars Vincent Price. If you have not seen From a Whisper to a Scream, I cannot recommend it enough. It's a great anthology horror film. It's a backwoods swamp area.
The word that we often use for films like that is regional.
Regional.
Because it feels like it's not LA at all. It's regional. Shot in Georgia.
Down and dirty anthology.
They I believe they shot portions of it in an old carpet factory.
Yeah.
Because Dalton used to be the carpet capital of Georgia. And one of the best performances by Clu Gulager.
Absolutely.
No, he is
haunting.
He is he's just unleashed in that film. Also, if I'm remembering correctly, that was Darren Scott's the beginning of his career, a guy who went on to do Tales from the Hood, a ton of other films I couldn't name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But Darren Scott, super cool dude. He said some very nice things when I posted my thoughts on Jeff passing that I was shocked that he even saw. But Darren went on to be a very formidable filmmaker himself, working with Ernest Dickerson a lot and stuff like that. So that's a really great film. And one of the 3 films that Jeff said he can praise his involvement with very few caveats. That's what he used to say. Very few caveats on those. It was that one, Eddie Presley, and Straight into Darkness. Anyway.
So From a Whisper to a Scream in 1987, he's a writer and director on. Then in 89, he directs The Stepfather 2, Make Room for Daddy.
Which turned out so well, they went theatrical with it when it was made for direct-to-video. And it's got Meg Foster and Jonathan Brandis in it.
And Carolyn Williams.
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw.
From Texas Chainsaw 2 and a brief cameo in his Texas Chainsaw 3.
That is correct. Speaking of Texas Chainsaw 3, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 3 in 1990 he directs.
Which I have always thought was extremely underrated, by the way.
It's a great one. A lot of fun. Then he does Eddie Presley in 1992.
That's a film that everybody should hunt down and watch. I think you can stream it now if you pay.
Yeah.
But
it's a future episode as well.
Oh, God. I mean, it's too obvious to do it right away.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorite films ever made.
So then he lands the Land of the Lost series in 1992 with the Chiodo brothers.
Yeah, he did a bit of TV here and there, because I know it's probably in there, Big Bad Beetleborgs.
That is coming. Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings in 1993 he directs.
Another hugely underrated one.
Yeah. And then Puppet Master 4 in 1993, followed by Puppet Master 5 in 94. And one thing that we actually watched Burr's special feature, he has an interview on the Blu-ray disc for 5, and he actually mentions that in his filmography, he does From a Whisper to a Scream, which is 1, then he does Stepfather 2, which is a sequel, and 2, does Texas Chainsaw 3, which is 3, then does Puppet Master 4.
So he does a part 1, a part 2, a part 3, and a part 4, just not in the same franchise.
That's correct, yes.
That's Burr for you, though.
So then in 1995, he also does Night of the Scarecrow, which we have a poster of right there.
It's right there, and it'll never go anywhere now because I miss him so much.
Yeah.
And that poster reminds me of how good he was even when people weren't really paying attention. That one didn't get a lot of love. But that's a great film.
Well, and even Mick Strawn, who we interviewed on the Freddy's Nightmares podcast,
wonderful things to say about working on that film.
So yeah,
yep.
So that Enrique was right. In 1996, Big Bad Beetleborgs.
Big Bad Beetleborgs. His comments that he made to me on working on that show were it was easy, silly, and good, quick money.
I could see that.
I doubt it was that good
of
money, but I'm sure it was quick money.
So then in 1997, he directs Johnny Misto, Boy Wizard.
One of several films he did for Full Moon in Romania.
Yeah. Then he does Spoiler in 1998.
Have you ever seen Spoiler?
I have not.
That is with Jeffrey Combs, who I wish I had talked about Burr with Combs, but I didn't know that movie at the time.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a really cool, weird sci-fi movie, and to be honest, I have no idea how it got made, because it just seems like it didn't fit the marketplace at all, but it was really fun. That's a hard one. It's on my my server that you have access to.
Well, all right then. I think I actually did add to my watch list now I think about it. The Werewolf Reborn in 1998, followed by Phantom Town in 1999. Then in 2004, he does a movie that you turned me on to, written and directed on, Straight into Darkness.
which is easily his most underrated film.
Absolutely. I mean, and what's even cooler is From a Whisper to a Scream, one of the stories in it kind of has a tease for it.
Yeah, he kind of expanded on some of the concepts.
Yeah.
In From a Whisper to a Scream into Straight into Darkness. It's a film about a group of war orphans during World War II who are protected by David Warner, and they end up having to basically fend off a Nazi siege.
Yeah.
And it is super good.
With the likes of Jack Frost, Scott McDonald.
And the short in From a Whisper to a Scream, because it's an anthology, was similar, but it was about children who had been harmed in the Confederacy during the Civil War, but they were ghosts. Yeah. So it was a bit different, but it had a similar vibe. A lot of the attitudes about like how war harms the children and the children are innocent, which I really like.
I think I'm gonna have to go home and watch Most Pro Scream tonight. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Pup Master 5 as soon as you leave this house. After I put this out right on you.
So then we have The Boy with X-Ray Eyes in 2005, followed by Devil's Den in 2006. Then he directs Resurrection in 2010, followed by Tornado Warning in 2012
with Jeff Fahey. That's actually a really solid TV movie.
Then he does Puppet Master Blitzkrieg Massacre in 2018.
Well, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
They used footage from his movies.
They used footage from his movie, yes.
So, are you okay, by the way? It seems like your throat might be drying up from drinking soda.
It could be. I don't know. Tales of the Fantastic in 2023, and that was the last one because, as Henrique said, he unfortunately passed 2023 October 10th from a stroke complication.
Yeah. When he passed, it was all over the internet. People were but it was not confirmed.
We were all trying to confirm. That was the shittiest part of it. Was just like we kept bouncing from one person to the next.
Well, people were posting on Facebook, but they weren't people that knew Burr directly. Yeah. I called him. He didn't answer, obviously. Yeah. So then I actually texted Dwayne Whitaker and said, dude, people are saying Jeff passed. And Dwayne called me back and was just like, here's what I think happened. I don't know if I want to share it, but I mean, he passed in his sleep. Yeah.
So moving down to our writers, we have 5 on Puppet Master 4.
Which is a sign of quality.
Quality indeed, and we'll get into that quality into the trivia when we get to that section of the show. I'm going to go ahead and give 3 right off the bat because they all have the exact same writing credits, which is Todd Henschel, Stephen E. Carr, and Joe Duffy. They were writers on Puppet Master 4 and 5, and that's their resume.
I feel like Steve Carr is a fake name.
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
It might be Ben Carr's fake name. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure.
So then moving down to our other writer, we have Keith S. Payson. He's a writer on Puppet Master 4 and Puppet Master 5, but he's also a line producer on Dr. Mordred, Trancers 3, Robot Wars, Prehysteria, Remote, Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, and Puppet Master 4 and 5.
Literally some of the most Excelsior of 90s Full Moon.
Well, if you think that's crazy.
Uh-oh.
Then we have Douglas Aaron Yaski. I can't even say the last name. Aaron Okoski.
Aaron. Oh, wow, that is hard. Aaron Iokoski.
So he is a writer on Puppet Master 4, Puppet Master 5, and then Nurse 3D in 2013. Does the screenplay for.
That is a career.
He is also the director of Highlander Endgame.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Day from 2016, that post-apocalyptic movie that had Dominic, what's-his-face, and it was a WWE movie, I want to say.
Shit!
Yeah. He's the director of that. Yeah. Nurse 3D.
Well, there you have it.
Also directs on the series Sleepy Hollow, Arrow, The Flash, Limitless, and American Gothic.
Now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So he does a feature here and there, but TV is where his bread is buttered. I'm really happy that he got to not only write but direct Nurse 3D, because whether you love or hate that movie, it's become a cult classic.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for him that he gets to make a horror film that everybody remembers.
Exactly. Moving down to our cinematographer, we have Adolfo Bartoli. He starts in 1961 as a lighting tech on The Best of Enemies. Then he does The 300 Spartans in 1962, Jason and the Argonauts in 63, From Russia with Love in 63, The Sound of Music in 65, Grand Prix, The Italian Job. Then he moves to assistant camera in 1972 with My Horse, My Gun, Your Widow, which I love that title.
That's a great title.
Lucky Luciano in 73, Miracle Still Happens, Illustrious Corpses, A Matter of Time, Contamination, yes, Contamination, the freaking knockoff movie.
What? The Italian movie Contamination?
Yeah, he's assistant camera on it.
No shit.
Yeah, 1980 he does that. Then the same year he does Popeye. Followed by...
You know where that was shot? Malta.
Malta, that's right.
Italy.
So then he does The Lone Runner in 86, followed by Iron Warrior in 87, moves into full cinematography in 83, Savage Zone, Delta Force Commando, Beyond the Door 3.
No.
Yeah, the fucking Psycho train movie.
I love that crazy movie.
It was fun. Followed by The Pit and the Pendulum in 1991 for Full Moon.
Probably how I got hooked up with him. I think that was made in Italy.
Yeah. Trancers 2 in 91, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge in 91, Netherworld in 92, Demonic Toys in 92, Seed People, Bad Channels, Dr. Mordred, Trancers 3, Robot Wars, Prehysteria, Doll Man vs. Demonic Toys, Puppet Master 4, Trancers 4, Jack of Swords, Oblivion, Lurking Fear, Puppet Master 5, Trancers 5, Sudden Depth, Beanstalk, Demon in the Bottle, Alien Abduction, Intimate Secrets, Head of the Family, Vampire Journals, The Creeps, Subspecies 4, Bloodstorm, Planet Patrol in 99, City of Fear in 2000, Octopus in 2000.
Jesus. I thought Mac Allberg did an insane amount of full moon movies, but holy coal, like that's crazy.
Queen's Messenger in 2001, She 2001, Witness to a Kill 2001, Meet Me in Miami, Caved In, The Primevals in 2023, and then he unfortunately passed June 30th of 2024, undisclosed of the death, unfortunately.
Well, for the record, Primevals was actually shot in the late 80s and early 90s. That was David Allen's film that never got finished until it just got finished.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that he would work with David Allen.
So moving down to the IMDb synopsis, it says, a young scientist and his friends, upon being attacked by demons, are protected by a gang of animated puppets.
That's pretty accurate.
My synopsis?
Oh, it better be folks, I gave like a 20-minute monologue about how much this movie means to me. So, Dave,
take it away.
Thrill me.
When an artificial intelligence project created by a young scientist becomes the target of murderous creatures out to destroy his research, help is found when a mysterious case of puppets come to life to help destroy the creatures.
David, that was really fucking good.
Yes.
No, that's a great description of it without getting a little too sci-fi or whatever.
Solid.
No, I unfortunately I don't have a cue for him to say good job, David.
Yeah,
I only have bad
never
ones.
Do that, yes.
So sorry.
So moving down to our cast, we have Gordon Currie, who plays Rick Myers in this. He gets a start in 1987 on 21 Jump Street.
Oh, really?
Distant Thunder in 88. Danger Bay in 88. Cousins in 89. Then he goes on to Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan in 1989.
Jason Takes a Boat.
Jason Takes a Boat.
Well, because our boy here did not make it off the boat.
He did not make it off the boat.
Well, a lot of the teens did not make it off the boat.
Very few of them did. Then he does American Boyfriends in 89. My Blue Heaven in 1990.
I think I remember him.
I think I do too,
yeah.
Terror Within 2 in 1990. The Killing Mind. The Hat Squad. Alive in 1993.
I do remember him being in Alive. That's the not cannibal movie, but it's the movie about the not Brazilian. It's a soccer team. The soccer team who gets stuck in the Andes and has to resort to cannibalism. It's a true story.
Great movie. Murder, She Wrote in 1993, followed by Puppet Master 4 in 93. Then he does Catwalk in 94, Puppet Master 5 in 95, Falling for You in 95, Forever Night, Blood and Donuts, Beverly Hills 90210 in 96, Listen in 96, The Sentinel in 97, Viper in 97.
Wow.
Then he does Poltergeist The Legacy, Dog Park, our buddy Cappy.
Yeah.
The Outer Limits remake in 98, Fear Resurrection in 99, or Fear 2.
One of my favorite silly movies from the 90s, by the way. Fear 2, Resurrection, also known as Fear 2, Halloween Night.
Followed by First Wave in 99, Way Downtown in 2000, Left Behind, the original Left Behind film in 2000.
Wow.
Twice in a Lifetime in 2000, Mutant X, Earth Final Conflict, Beyond Belief Factor Fiction 2002, Left Behind 2, Tribulation Force 2002, The Happy Couple 2003, Crimes of Passion 2003, and even did Highwaymen, that movie that we mentioned, Monster Man, the suggestion. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Guys in that in 2004.
Go him.
Moving down to Chandra West, she plays Susie in the film. She gets her start in 1990 on the Hitchhiker series, followed by True Confessions in 91, Beyond Reality in 92, Forever Night in 92, Night Terrors in 93, the Tobe Hooper film.
Oh, yeah.
Puppet Master 4 in 93, Puppet Master 5 in 94, Highlander in 94, Lonesome Dove the series in 94, Madonna Innocence Lost in 94.
Okay.
Falling for You, No Contest.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No Contest in 1995, Catwalk in 95, Picket Fences in 95, A Face to Die For in 96, Kindred the Embraced in 96, Viper in 96.
Oh, shit.
They were both
reunited.
in Viper, yeah. The Waiting Game in 98, Universal Soldier 2, Brother in Arms in 98, Universal Soldier 3, Unfinished Business, Earth Final Conflict, Seasons of Love, The 70s in 2000, CSI in 2000, The Salton Sea in 2002, NYPD Blue, and even White Noise in 2005 with Michael Keaton.
I remember Burr mentioned that,
yeah.
in his interview.
And last on our credit, I'm going to give to Guy Rolfe, who plays Andre Toulon.
Well, of all of the people,
yeah.
he has the most interesting resume. So.
He absolutely does. So this man gets his start in 1937 with A Night Without Armor, Dinner at the Ritz in 37. And I would also like to add, this is a very condensed resume.
Oh, yeah, no. He was a British actor who literally started in 1937.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a movie he shot in 1993.
Yeah. So Odd Man Out in 47, The Inheritance in 47, Broken Journey in 48, Fools Rush In 49, The Spider and the Fly in 49, Prelude to Fame in 1950, Ivanhoe 52, Operation Diplomat 53, ITV Play of the Week 56, Hour of Mystery in 57, The Stranglers of Bombay in 59, The Barbarians, Thriller, Mr. Sardonicus in 61, King of Kings, The Alphabet Murders, The Saint, The Avengers, and now The Screaming starts in 1973. I forgot he was in that.
Shit. I mean, I would have trouble. I first discovered him in the Puppet Master movies.
Yeah.
So he was already in his 70s.
Oh, yeah.
So I would be shocked if I could recognize him that young.
Bloodline in 79, The Bride in 1985, and then in 1986, he stars in a little film called Dolls.
Yes, he does, without facial hair.
Yes.
Stuart Gordon's Dolls.
Yes.
I do remember him being in that. You know who he kind of reminded me of?
Who?
What's the name of the guy who stars in Motel Hell?
Is
that Rory Calhoun?
Rory Calhoun, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of reminds, with a no beard.
I can see that, yeah.
A British Rory Calhoun, which is a strange move.
It's a terrifying idea. Uncle Silas in 89, Crossbow in 89, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge in 91, followed by Puppet Master 4, Puppet Master 5, Retro Puppet Master in 99. Then, unfortunately, he passes away in 2003, October 19th. He was 91, and he dies of natural causes.
I remember when he passed away because, again, I was on the Puppet Master Full Moon fan board.
Yeah.
And we were all very devastated when he passed.
So we would like to report that as of this recording, Puppet Master 4 is currently available on Prime Video, Peacock, Tubi, Freevee, Plex, and Roku.
Oh, gosh, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Hell yeah.
So there's no reason for you not to pause this podcast right now, go watch Puppet Master 4 and rejoin us.
And if you're not going to, then you didn't care about me crying earlier.
Because this movie, we're starting it now. Here we go. So we open in the underworld of hell.
56 minutes in.
56 minutes in. I keep hitting the fucking microphone with my nose, damn it.
Maybe you need to carve that schnoz back a little bit there, pal.
So we open in the underworld of hell. We're basically in the netherworld, and that's where we meet the god Sukta. Or is it
Sutek?
Sutek.
Sukta.
Sutek, and he's explaining that to his minions that they have to keep the power, and in doing so, they are going to send these totems to Earth to be delivered, but we don't know to whom yet.
Yes, that is part of the, well, I would say the plot thickens, but as Burr said, what plot?
What plot? So we cut over to Biotech Industries as we see a man approaching the front desk with a nice wooden box. He's in a rainstorm. He goes into the facility, sets the box down, and that's when we also meet Dr. Leslie Piper, who is contacted about the box being dropped off at the front desk.
Yes, and this is the beginning of us starting to figure out somewhat what's going on, because we're about to meet our main character when she makes a phone call.
We are indeed. So we first find out that she is working with another doctor, Dr. Baker, and that is played, I do want to give a shout out to
RoboCop alumni.
Yeah, I just lost his name. Felton Perry.
Yes.
And he is asking her how the research is going, and she's like, well, I haven't heard from Rick yet, but you know how Rick is. He should be getting back to me anytime now.
The boy genius.
The boy genius. So she calls him, and that's when she basically says that she thinks they're going to have a breakthrough on the AI project because the robots are also solving puzzles now.
Yes, and that is a major plot point in the film, is the development of artificial intelligence. Yeah.
So Dr. Piper goes to get the package, revealing it to be a creature-like statue, and when I say a creature-like statue, like, what would you describe this totem as?
I would describe it as, like, honestly, like equal parts H.R. Giger and Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Fair. Absolutely fair.
But it actually is scary, though.
Yeah, it's
just a doll.
It's a doll, but it has the features of something that could fuck you up if it came to life, maybe.
It's got big teeth, big claws.
Yes.
And the reason I say H.R. Giger is it has like a big headpiece that kind of goes back
Yeah.
beyond the back of its head and sticks out a ways.
And suddenly this creature does come to life, taking off one of Piper's fingers, and she begins to run, trying to avoid its attacks, but this creature is right on her. She even throws it across the room at one point, but then it charges at her, taking her to the ground and tries to begin stealing her soul.
And this is some full moon era classicness.
Yeah.
They love those scenes with the little killers. Charlie was obsessed with still is, killer dolls, killer toys, miniature people.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of this scene is very like the fetish doll.
Zuni fetish doll. I was literally thinking, Trilogy of Terror.
In Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black.
Or Trilogy of Terror 2. Because the lab.
I love Trilogy of
Well, the
Terror
lab
2.
attack.
Yeah, that's very like Trilogy of Terror 2.
Yeah.
Highly underrated Trilogy of Terror 2.
Yes. So that is when we also find out that these minions back in the Netherworld are controlling these dolls, basically.
Yeah, well, more than that, they're like sharing
Energy.
an essence.
Yeah.
Because as we find out, spoiler, when they get killed, the
They
person
die in the
controlling it
netherworld.
dies horribly too. So
Yes.
it's more than just controlling. They are the totems. I still don't know why the hell they're called totems.
No one does.
That's fair.
So the totems are watching from the Neverworld, and they watch from the eyes of the servant thing that they have as the creature goes to touch her head. That's when we meet Rick Myers, who is preparing 2 robots for a test, as he is at the beautiful
Bodega Bay Inn.
Yeah, Bodega Bay Inn.
Which is the hotel from the original Puppet Master and Puppet Master 2.
Yes.
Because those 2 take place in what would be modern day at the time.
Yeah.
As to where 3, they go back in time to Nazi Germany.
Yep.
And Toulon starts killing Nazis.
So good.
But although before that they had hinted he might be a Nazi.
Be a Nazi, yeah.
Which was a little tricky.
Well, and then in the Littlest Reich, he totally was a Nazi.
Which I thought made him scary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they did a pretty good job.
Oh, Udo Kier.
Udo Kier gave it his all. But this scene is one of the scenes that really connected with me as a little kid watching it.
Yeah.
Because he's got this laser gun, and he's basically playing laser tag with 2 robots to see if they develop problem-solving skills. So the music, he like plays some music, and he's like jumping around his bed and shooting lasers. As a kid, you're like, God, I would love to have robots that played laser tag with me. You know, it's so cool. So he's jumping and he's shooting at them, but it becomes very clear that they are not able to solve problems.
No.
They're not able to fight him or each other.
Yeah.
He even makes a reference where he's like, look, I'm a scientist. I'm not a track star or something. You should have been able to catch me.
To catch me, yeah. Because he even comments that he was using a randomly generated number sequence through a gamma, and he confides this in his tape recorder, and he believes that the artificial intelligence is nowhere near ready as they need it to be.
And thereby cementing that this is the boy wonder we were
Yes.
speaking of.
So that's when we cut back to the lab, and we see Dr. Baker is still at work, but we also see that a package has now arrived for him.
Oh, what could it be?
It looks to be another box exactly like Dr. Piper received, and he opens it to find another totem.
Well, hell's bells and taco shells.
So we also cut back to Rick, who, while getting ready to head out, is admired by Blade, the puppet Blade. And when I say admired, we just see Blade kind of watching over him.
Yeah, in the start of the film, the only puppet who is currently animated
Yeah.
or reanimated or whatever you call it is Blade. And Blade is kind of the bread and butter of the Puppet Master series.
Yeah.
He's got this white face that looks like Faust.
Faust, yeah.
He literally looks like Faust from the old plays of Faust.
Yeah.
But he has literal dagger eyes, and he has a hook for one hand and a straight up
Blade
combat knife
for the other one, yep.
Like literally, it's a knife with one side sharp, like filleting, and one side is sawed.
Yeah.
Like he literally, I have a doll of him in my living room.
So cool.
I remember I bought that at Spencer's Gifts. There was a time
my
period when
God.
Spencer's carried Puppet Master
Oh,
dolls,
yeah.
and they had the blood spattered editions, which were so cool. They were the exact same doll, but
Just
they
covered in
sprayed it
blood.
with red paint.
Yep.
No, just a little splatter.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like drenched.
Yeah, no,
but-
I remember the Michael Myers one. So that is when we also see that Blade notices that outside there's a figure calling to him that may or may not just sound like Andre Toulon.
Yeah, and he's basically just saying like, "Fam,
Yeah, basically.
fam, keep the faith, fam." That's basically what
I
he's
was thinking of Toulon doing freaking Fast and the Furious quotes now.
Blade, remember, we don't have friends. We have family.
So that's when we see that, like I said, Dr. Baker has received a totem creature just like he has, and naturally, he doesn't know what to do with it, so he puts it into a nuclear power.
He puts it into a big microwave.
Yeah, a
He's
big
basically
microwave.
incinerating
Trying to
it.
kill
He's
it, yeah.
destroying it.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know it's alive yet.
Yeah. So that's when he opens it and realizes that it's not there anymore, except it totally is as it lunges out and steals his soul. So now Dr. Baker is no longer in the game.
Rip.
Rip indeed. So that's when we cut back to Rick, and he is getting ready to go outside when he notices a stranger is also outside of his house.
Yes. You caught me with the cigar in my mouth.
So he goes to answer the door, and that's when he notices that Blade is also right by him.
You know, I can't lie. I kind of love this like Toulon haunting thing. It works for me. It really does.
So that is when Rick was calling to ask Dr. Baker. Oh, yeah, I forgot this. So he calls Dr. Baker.
Oh, yeah, they talk a little bit real quick. And he basically just says, like, how's it coming along? He's like, not great right now, but I feel like I'm almost there.
Yeah.
And then there's a rapping as
door.
if someone tapping on the Bodega Bay Inn door.
And that's when we go to find that his friends, Susie and her friend Lauren and Cameron, have stopped by. But Cameron's also an ex-colleague.
Yeah, with very tall hair.
Yes. And Lauren may or may not be a psychic.
Yes, but what we can say, her boyfriend, 100% a douchebag.
100% a douchebag.
No, he is the movie's douche.
Yeah.
He is a douche canoe.
So at dinner, Rick, Susie, Lauren listen to Cameron go on and on about being in school with Rick and about how he was the golden boy and how he's basically proud of him, but we know that he's not. He's being very smug about his comments.
Al Brooks used to call those complissalts.
Complissalts, that's solid.
Compliments that are actually insults.
We also see that Blade, now moving around, is spying on them around the corner as he peeks back and then goes back around the corner. Cameron also states that he is working for the Phoenix Division, which means that he is technically working.
Yeah, he's bragging like, well, I'm working this is top secret stuff. I'm talking to, I answered someone named Pepper, and he goes, Piper. She's who is researching my studies. So now he's realized he is a small cog in a machine that is entirely about Rick.
Yep.
So basically, it's like if you got the shrink ray from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and just aimed it only at his nuts.
Yeah.
And just
that's exactly what just happened.
Until they were small enough that they could befriend an ant, and it ends very sad.
So outside, Blade sees and hears the voice of Andre Toulon again, and we see that Baker and Piper's souls are now out of their bodies, so their souls are completely stolen.
Yeah, bummer.
So Cameron asks for them to be shown around the rest of Rick's setup in the Bodega Bay Inn, and that's when Lauren finds the Blade puppet. As they leave, she asks Rick about it, but he doesn't really have a response yet. But upon getting to Rick's lab, Cameron tries to get a look at Rick's research. He is all about trying to see what's on this computer.
And it's worth mentioning about Rick. He is definitely an odd character. He is super duper obsessed with his work. There are regularly throwaway lines where his girlfriend is basically like, I wish he'd pay that much attention to me.
Yeah.
There's even a reference at dinner where she's saying, like, every now and then I remind him to come up for air. Because originally it was supposed to be a dinner of just the two of them, but she brought two friends along.
So that's when Rick is quick to deny the access. Meanwhile, Lauren's starting to feel vibes off holding the Blade puppet, and she's being introduced also to the Hermes, which is the test robot that he was shooting at in the beginning.
Yeah, and she's having a bit of a time.
Yeah, she questions if Rick still has the box the puppet came in. He shows her the box that he had received it in. She's like, no, that's not the box that this came in. It's still here somewhere, though. And he's like, well, there's a storage closet down the hall, like knock yourself out.
Yeah, it's very funny. She's like, could I, I need to find it. He's like, well, the storage closet's over there. Knock yourself out. He really couldn't care less.
Couldn't care less. So Lauren enters to find a room full of old furniture, tools, cobwebs, and she quickly lets out a scream before fainting. Rick and the rest of them come to her aid, and she tells Rick to stay away from this trunk that she's found. And what's he do? He just goes to work trying to open it with a hammer.
Yeah, well, she hands him a hammer, and he goes, oh, great, a hammer. And then he starts whacking it and whacking it.
3 hours later. So he is whacking away on this trunk and even asking for someone to bust the lock off. Susie gets him the hammer. Lauren keeps begging him to stop, and Cameron offers to take a whack at it. Susie begs them to stop again. And
I love that nobody cares.
Nobody
that she's
cares.
Begging her to stop.
Yeah, he asks Lauren why the fuck she's so scared, and she walks off. Rick tries to calm Susie, but she runs off too, and that's when he's like, women.
Women can't live with him, can't shoot him.
Can't shoot him.
That's what he said, not what I said.
And Cameron also makes the comment that she'll be fine once they get the box open.
Yeah, well, he thinks that that once she sees there's nothing dangerous in it, it'll be fine.
So Blade outside catches another side of Andre Toulon. Rick opens the trunk, finding it filled with Toulon's memorabilia. We're talking posters for the puppets, events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's basically a stage.
Yeah.
And it's full of the puppets, although it's missing a couple.
It is missing a couple.
Like Leech Woman,
and
Torch. Although Torch appears in part 5 for reasons.
So Cameron finds Toulon's medal that maybe hints that he may or may not have been a Nazi as well.
More so his passport.
His passport.
Which has a big old eagle with the swastika.
And that causes Rick to go, yikes. They search through more of the trunk.
Well, douchebag says something great. He goes like, he must have been, it looks like he was a Nazi. He's like, oh, I hate those guys. So they search through more of the trunk, finding Toulon's personal journal, which states that Toulon had his Nazi affiliation falsely documented so that he could flee from the SS. It basically says, like, I've killed the guy and avenged my wife.
Yeah.
And now the printer is going to forge me a passport so I can get out of here before they find the secret.
Because the SS wanted to get access to the puppets and use them for bad. So soon we see Susie has joined them again as Cameron and Rick take out the puppets, including Six Shooter, Tunneler, Pinhead, and, of course, Blade is in there as well.
You forgot Jester.
Oh, Jester. Yeah, Jester, too.
Jester doesn't do a lot in this one.
He doesn't. So Rick also finds a small case with 2 vials of green liquid in a syringe. And, it just reminded me of another movie. I just can't put my finger.
The Immortalizer.
The Immortalizer, yes. Yes. The surgeon.
For those who aren't stupid, pathetic dorks, the Immortalizer is probably the most shameless knockoff of Reanimator.
Yeah.
Of Stuart Gordon's Reanimator, where they have the reagent is in a vial, and it's basically a glowing green fluid, like those lights you crack and shake and they light up. It's that fluid, but in a container. I always thought that was weird because I saw this before I saw Reanimator.
Mm-hmm.
So years later I saw Reanimator, I was like, oh yeah, they just kind of took something straight out of Reanimator. Okay.
Well, I mean, and Rick does the only viable option at this point. I'm going to inject all these puppets with the serum.
Yeah, the fact that he injects all of them, not one.
All.
Like, I would do one and see.
Yeah.
But no, let's just do all
Lay
of them.
them all out one at a time.
But it does have, the reveal that they're finally moving is so good.
Yeah, because that's when Cameron is getting fed up. He's like, I don't have time to wait all this. I'm going to see if I can do something about this. And that's when the Pinhead puppet just comes to life and reaches up right on Cameron and pulls him down.
Yeah, and there's a nice scare.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, the Pinhead puppet, he is a big muscly puppet with a tiny little pinhead, but he has hands that are about the size of like a 12-year-old's hands. So he has like pretty meaty hands. He could punch you, he could grab you. That's what he does in most of the films. Is he's the one who like strangles people and grabs hammers and stuff like that.
So Lauren, seeing this, states that she warned them, but Rick states he doesn't think there's anything to worry about. He doesn't feel that there's any danger with them yet. So he picks up Tunneler, who comes to life alongside the rest of his puppet pals, and Rick is amazed, but Cameron isn't convinced at what he's seeing, and Rick makes the point that this could be a huge discovery for them.
I like that they reanimate a puppet with a drill on top of his head and don't at all think like, hey, you think that might be dangerous?
Maybe. So we cut back to the Netherworld as Sutek.
Yep.
God damn. Sutek states that everyone must die who has discovered Toulon's magic now. So we cut back to the Bodega Bay Inn as we see Rick shoot the Jester puppet with the serum, and it comes to life now too. And Cameron wants explanations and is upset that Toulon's journal has nothing that they can use to comprehend how this is working.
Yeah, he's digging through the journal trying to find the what do you call it? The chemical composition, the instructions on how to make this.
The sequence, basically.
Yeah, and the journal is just personal information. It has nothing to do with the science or magic or whatever of the puppets.
So outside in a rainstorm, the Bodega Bay Inn loses power, and Susie suggests that they all call it a night. Cameron and Lauren go off to a room, and Susie is left with Rick. But Cameron is pissed at Rick's discovery still and states he's going to try and get the puppet formula before he can.
Yeah, he's salty AF.
Yeah, and he wants to have it because he wants all them to basically bow to him and kiss his ass.
He wants to bring it to the project first, and then the project will be run by him, and Rick will be, I don't know, laying in a gutter sobbing.
So Lauren tries to tell him the puppets don't belong to him, but Cameron says he's earned this and asks Lauren, doesn't she want to help him get what he deserves?
I like him. He's not at all manipulative.
No. So back in Rick's room, we see him fitting Tunneler and Pinhead with laser guns for another match of the laser tag game. He counts down, and they all just begin to go at each other. And it's a really fun scene.
It's super fun, and it pays off for the fact that he realizes that whatever these puppets are, they can think.
Yeah.
And that's really important if you're developing artificial intelligence.
I would say so.
Now, of course, if this movie is canon, which I don't know that it is, but if it was canon, then the reality would be that Toulon put souls in the puppets.
Yeah.
Because Blade was the soul of Richard Lynch's Nazi character in part 3.
Part 3, yep.
So, although, because the way the Puppet Master series works is part 1 is supposed to be modern time, part 2 is a direct sequel, then part 3 is a prequel. We go back to when Toulon, because the first scene of the first Puppet Master movie is the Nazis catching up with Toulon in America and him blowing his brains out to hide the secrets.
So back in the other room, Lauren tries to reason with Cameron that she felt something evil with those puppets, but Cameron asks her again to do it for him. Tunneler and Pinhead put up a fight with Rick on the laser tag side of things, and they are going around the room. And another ring at the door sends Susie to check on who it is, and she comes to the door to find no one but a box, just like Dr. Piper and Dr. Baker received previously.
What's in the box?
What's in the box, indeed, because that is when we cut back to Lauren, who is now taken aboard Toulon's trunk, and she is now seated across from Cameron, trying to do a seance. So they've taken the board that was in the stage that was in there, and they're sitting across from each other doing a seance now, basically, trying to summon Andre Toulon.
Yeah, because there was this weird kind of Ouija board in that trunk, which he snagged.
That had a prism on it, too.
So she's a psychic medium.
Yep.
So he's like, hey, use your thing to talk to this Toulon guy so I can get the info, and, none of this could possibly go wrong.
Not at all, because suddenly Lauren is taken over, asking him who does he seek. Cameron states Andre Toulon, and he wants to know about the power of the puppets. Suddenly, the thing inhabiting Lauren begins to laugh as we see multiple killer totem creatures begin to come out of the Ouija board.
Really, that was a scene that scared me when I was a kid. Now, there are plenty of problems with this movie.
Yeah.
It's very uneven in the action. We get some really good action at the start, and then it lulls a lot in the middle until they start getting killed at Bodega Bay or attacked or whatever. But I liked it as a kid, so fuck off.
No, this is pretty bad. This is pretty badass.
But the prism, which is a pyramid, splits into 4 pyramids or 3. 3. Oh yeah, math, right? Geometry, right? It splits open, and these totems just rise up, and they're just rising up like, and one of the best things about this movie, although there's not a ton of it, is the stop motion.
Absolutely.
And this is so cool, because literally they're like doing these like creepy motions and like growling as they rise up out of the board.
The sound they make is just unsettling.
It's so creepy. And when 10-year-old me was just like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. So Lauren and Cameron scream, but Rick is distracted with his laser tag game, so Susie interrupts him to bring his attention to the screaming. Cameron and Lauren tell him, as they catch up with him, that they need to leave, that something is evil here. Meanwhile, Rick goes to check on the room, and they are finding scratches all over the wall, other damages, holes in the wall. The creatures have now gotten out and are in the house.
Oh, yeah. They're loose in the Bodega Bay Inn. And for the record, we haven't really mentioned, it is a full-size hotel.
Yeah.
Which Rick mentions in passing earlier that it's the off season and he's the caretaker.
Caretaker, yeah.
And he likes it there because he can do his work and there's no one breathing down his neck.
Him.
And I guess they don't pay him well enough to be the head of a major research thing, so he can't just buy a space.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whoops.
So Cameron states he's gone, and he goes to leave. Lauren begs Rick and Susie to come with them, but they refuse. And that's when he even says, "Nice girl for a psychic."
There are some really great lines. And when Burr was talking about this on that interview, he mentioned that while the shooting schedule was tight, he had just enough days for them to do some good improv and to try and flesh things out. And he mentioned that the actor who played Cameron was in particular a very funny guy. And I believe it because he had a lot of lines where he would say something and it was so dickish, you'd laugh.
Yeah.
Like he was such an ass that you'd be like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you talk, Dave.
Yeah. Jason Adams at this point, Ash Adams now, by the way.
Ash Adams, yes.
So outside, rain continues coming down on Cameron's car, and the car is refusing to start. He tells Lauren to get out and push, so she gets out, and then he fucking locks the door.
Hey, David, listen up, kings.
God,
if you don't want to get your feet wet because you don't want to have wet socks all day, hey, women, they wanted to vote. They vote, they can push the car, right?
Well, Cameron gets his just
Dave
desserts.
is not going to touch that.
Nope. Cameron gets his just desserts because immediately a creature pops up in the car and just starts eating the shit out of him.
Oh,
basically.
it's probably the most gruesome death
thing
in this film.
Yeah, gruesome thing in the movie.
Well, he earned it by being a total chachinko.
Yeah, I would say so. So he is attacked and he is killed, and inside the Bodega Bay Inn, the puppets come face to face with the totem demons now, while Susie shows Rick the remains of the box that the creature arrived in, because now that box is just completely broken out of.
Yes, and I want to give it up to the Sue Tech. You need to fight off Well, you know what? I was going to make fun of them because it's like you sent things as big as the puppets, but they weren't. He didn't send them initially to fight the puppets.
Yeah.
He sent them to kill the people.
Yeah.
And I guess them being that size, I mean, they are able to disappear into the HVAC vents. They're able to be delivered in a box.
All through the walls.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not going to give him crap.
Okay.
I think that he made a pretty good choice. Also, in his suit, he has nipples.
He does have nipples, yes.
Which is hilarious. It's like Joel Schumacher was on set that day.
So he goes outside as Lauren comes back in asking for help. Rick goes to the car, finding the dead body of Cameron. The puppets now come upon one of the demons, which Blade and Pinhead hold against a wall while Tunneler just drills right the fuck through him.
And as far as toys killing other toy-like objects go, very gruesome.
Very gruesome.
That thing rides and dies, and there's gore.
Yeah, and back in the Netherworld, we see the servant controlling it go through the same exact shit before melting away.
And we should mention, so the servants, I would say they look like slightly taller versions of the dwarfs from Phantasm 2 and 3.
Yeah, they got like a Jawa aspect to them,
and they've
too.
got glowing eyes.
Yeah.
And when they die, they're in hoods. And when they die, they kind of melt. Now, Sutek is a full body skeleton suit, probably made out of foam rubber.
Yeah.
With a jaw that kind of moves, glowing bloodshot red eyes with no pupils, which again looks kind of silly, but you show it to a 10-year-old and you're like,
yeah,
this is cool. And because I was a kid, it's like He-Man.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, it's like the villain going like, I'll get you, He-Man. I'll send my blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then blah, blah, blah. As a kid, you react really well to knowing what's going on.
Well, it's just like, I mean, this is basically the reason I think that I was attracted to these films later on, but it's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame that I missed them in my prime time. They feel like R-rated Power Rangers or, stuff like that.
Especially 4 and 5.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, they feel like R-rated kid shows almost.
Yeah, no, I really think that especially part 4, it really has that, because in part 5, there's a lot more of like a human villain element, which I feel like makes it feel more adult. Yeah. But right now, it's literally like killer toys and guys in suits. Yeah. And monster suits.
What more could you not love?
Right.
So inside, Rick joins the puppets, finding the dead totem carcass, which he throws across the room. He goes to tell Susie that they gotta leave, but the group is interrupted as we see the puppets begin to construct a new puppet.
Yes, they begin to build Decapitron. Wait, can I put echo on? Hold on.
Oh.
They have to build. Wait, of course I don't have it ready. I just thought it'd be funny now. They have to build. I don't have it. I'm just ignore me.
Decapitron.
There we go.
Decapitron. Nope.
Decapitron.
Perfect. Yes.
We'll do that.
So Lauren wakes up to find the totem demon breaking through the vent in her room, and she goes to make a run for it, leaving Susie and Rick cornered. Rick quickly turns on Hermes, the robot, and sends it across the room, but Blade, Six Shooter, and Tunneler quickly wrap the demon in wire.
Yes, and not just any wire.
Yeah.
They wrap him in wire, and at this point, had we already talked about how Pinhead went up on the roof?
Well, this is it. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, so Pinhead is up on the roof with the big hands, and he's setting up a Frankenstein-like... Another reason I love this as a kid, another reason this is so fun, the whole movie takes place during one long thunderstorm. Yeah. So every scene is lightning on the windows and thunder rumbling in the distance. So now Pinhead is up on top of this roof, and he's assembling an antenna, a lightning rod, like Frankenstein, a la Frankenstein, which they're going to use to revive Decapitron.
Yes.
But they just plug in a little extra so they can fry the fuck out of this totem.
And that they do because we see that servant in the Netherworld turn to goo as soon as they turn that switch on.
I have that effect on totems.
Damn right they do. So suddenly the puppet they were working on morphs into a head of Andre Toulon, who informs Rick that Project Omega answer can be found in his formula. Rick realizes that the other vial is missing of the formula, and he goes to search and even asks Lauren. Lauren, who is hiding in another room, is quickly found by the demon. Rick runs into Susie, telling her that Toulon spoke the numeric sequence to him, and he has to find Lauren because she is the key. And Susie rushes off to find Lauren, moments from her having her soul taken as the creature has fucking cornered her.
Yeah, they're about to kill her. And the reason that they need her help is because she is a psychic medium.
Yeah.
Toulon only had enough power to tell them that because Decapitron got a little bit of electricity.
Yeah.
But without the potion,
it's not going to work.
The sauce.
Yeah, the sauce. God damn.
Inside joke. But without that, he can't really fully come to life.
Yeah. So that's when Susie rushes off, finds Lawrence, like I said, moments before her soul being taken away, and she goes head-to-head with the demon, telling him, "Get off her, you bastard." The two of them have a charging standoff. He's swiping at her, scratching at her, but she gets one kick in and kicks the creature across the room before dousing it with a jar of acid on the table.
Yeah, the acid they used to open the box earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the creature melts away, and outside, Rick finds the vial in Cameron's dead body on his pocket, on his dead body in his pocket. He returns inside as Lawrence suddenly comes to as the voice of Andre Toulon, who tells him he must help the puppets create Decapitron. It's the only way.
It's the only way to defeat Sutek.
Yes. So we see the puppets, Lauren, Susie around Rick, plugging the sequence into his computer. A countdown begins as wires start to send power to the formula, which is hooked up to the mold of the puppet, and we slowly watch the puppet begin to form and take life.
Yes, and Decapitron, the reason he's called Decapitron is he has multiple head attachments, including one kind of faceless head, which morphs into Andre Toulon.
Yeah.
And in part 5, they attach even more attachments to Decapitron's head.
Yes, they do.
Now, where those attachments come from, I assume up his ass.
Apparently. Has to be. So we watch him go, we watch him start to move and function, but we also see another demon remains and is on the prowl, and as the door blows open, there's our buddy, the Acid Totem.
Yeah, the Acid... I like that name, the Acid Totem.
The Acid Totem is pissed, and it is not super thrilled that it just was trying to be murdered.
So that's about to die. Yep.
We see Blade jump down and face off against it as Decapitron is given his new head, which, how would you describe this attachment?
It's basically like a Tesla death coil.
Yeah.
It's 4 coils around one big bulbous coil, and as the electricity goes through it, I guess it goes from those 4 and focuses on that one, and he shoots a bolt of electricity.
Yep.
And just fries
it.
11 secret herbs and spices.
Yeah.
Fries that totem.
It blows up, the head comes off, and that is when Sutek has lost.
Yeah, sorry, Sutek. Guess you lost until the immediate sequel.
Yeah,
bitch.
So the pair, they say they get together and they're celebrating their victory. That's when we see that Sutek in the Netherworld angrily screams out, and back inside, Decapitron takes off the device, forming Andre Toulon's head once again, telling Rick the magic of the puppets lies with him now. It needs a strong master. I'm with you, Puppet Master.
Which I say all the time, and people don't get the reference. Like, they'll be like, so let's do this. And I always go, I am with you, Puppet Master. And it's because I've watched that movie a billion times. So, and I also want to mention real quick, because we'll get into it more when we talk about the notes.
Yeah.
But the reason I keep mentioning part 5 is not just because I had a tape of both. It's because they were shot at the exact same time.
Yeah.
They're basically one movie turned into 2.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that it's easy to confuse between them. That's why I'm really glad we watched it right before, because otherwise I might be saying stuff that happened in part 5.
Well, and Burr even said you could basically cut 4 and 5 together and cut stuff out.
He said if you cut 4 and 5 together and got it down to 85 minutes, it'd be a phenomenal movie. So they have one now. That is the end of Puppet Master 4, and my God, what a film. It is fun. It's a little slow. But it's a popcorn munching good time, and one of those childhood weirdo movies that still obviously holds up for me.
Yeah.
I still have a great time watching it.
So would you like to know some notes that you probably already know about the film?
I probably know most of them, but you speak, boy, speak.
So it was shot in Pasadena and Culver City, California in the winter of 1993. 2.5 weeks of prep.
Which is insane.
Yeah. So this and Puppet Master 5 were originally intended to be one entire theatrical movie. Full Moon CEO Charles Band was slated to direct, and the project was titled Puppet Master the Movie.
Yeah, I think it was actually Puppet Master the Motion Picture.
The motion picture, that makes more sense, yeah. The Torch Puppet, created in Puppet Master 2, is seen on the cover and the VHS and DVD case, but is not seen in any of the movie. This was due to economic reasons, as the makers could only afford the effects and a fire marshal for one entry. Torch does, however, appear in Puppet Master 5.
The fire marshal thing makes so much sense, because there's no fire in at all other than Torch in part 5.
Was originally meant to be Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys before the idea of Decapitron and the Totems came along.
Well, Decapitron, we joked about the rise of Decapitron or whatever, but Decapitron was supposed to be a whole other subset of Full Moon movies.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a massive Decapitron movie that they were going to spend $5 million on. If you own Full Moon tapes, you can see trailers and teasers for Decapitron.
Oh my God.
They even had designs for the toy.
Yeah.
And then it never happened.
Never happened.
Which a lot of Charlie stuff never happened. Because where the fuck is my bride of the head of the family, bitch?
Yeah, no
Where is
shit.
it? Where is it, Charlie? Where is it? Probably forgot to pay the writer.
Burr commented the script for 4 and 5 was the size of a telephone book that made no sense at all.
I mean, with that many writers, it's got to make sense, right?
Yeah. Upon returning to the role of Andre Toulon, Guy Rolfe refused to leave his hotel room and participate in the film unless producer Charles Band personally slid a cash payment under his hotel room door.
Yeah, he wanted to know for a fact that he had all the money he was promised because he flew from Spain just to do it and then fly home while being quite elderly.
And Burr states on the behind the scenes that Rolfe was strapped to a piece of plywood for his scenes of the forced perspective, only a couple hours work before flying home the next day.
Yeah, and the reason he was strapped to a piece of plywood is so that they could film the miniature so that his head looked like it was a part of the doll.
Bumped from October 1993 release date and pushed to November of that year. Teresa Hill was given the chance to do a Doritos commercial in the middle of filming, but the studio wouldn't let her take a break between filming due to the limited production schedule.
It wasn't a lot of time.
This was the last film director Jeff Burr edited on 35mm film.
I believe that.
Most of the music was sourced from the previous 3 Puppet Master movies at the time and other full moon features such as Demonic Toys due to personal disputes between producer Charles Band and his brother composer Richard Band.
Man, Charlie, you even piss your brother off.
Yeah, no shit.
Damn, dude. And, well, I'm not trying to tell tales out of turn. I am shocked that there are people who believe in Charlie Band having any kind of good reputation.
Yeah.
He has a very bad reputation to most people, even people who work with him consistently. But I'd also heard stories about him pissing his dad off a lot. Albert Band, who was a very talented director in his own right. Anyway, I'm not here to gossip. I'm here to cry and then smoke cigars.
A scene where the totem messenger smoking was cut from the finished film due to producer Charles Band's objection to smoking. The print of the scene has since been lost.
Well, I mean, they did let Butthead smoke some clove cigarettes at least.
Both Puppet Master 4 and Puppet Master 5 had very little pre-production due to a tight schedule.
2.5 weeks for fucking 2 movies.
The character of Dr. Piper was originally conceived as a much older than in the finished film. For this version, Dr. Piper, Joanna Patet, Judy Geeson, and Camilla Sperry were originally considered as possible actresses for the role.
Because when they ended up going with a young woman who was probably under 30.
Yeah. Sutek is another name of the set of the god of deserts and storms in Egyptian mythology.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, what are your final thoughts on Puppet Master 4?
I'm blowing smoke rings, kid. Wow, the camera actually
I
focused
saw,
on the smoke rings. Well, for me, obviously, it is a very valuable movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a buy it. I owned it on the tape my Aunt Betty gave me. I owned it on DVD. I owned it on Blu-ray. But on average, I mean, you have to have seen the other movies to really click with it.
Yeah.
So it's a stream it. I think I think it's wonderful that it's on Plex and Tubi and all these places to watch it for free, because I think that that's where it belongs, where people will give it a chance.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I actually gave it a rent it with a caveat for stream it. If you have not seen any of the Puppet Master movies, you have no reason to not to stream them right now. They're easily available.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 1 through 5 is what I checked, and those are all available on Peacock, I think.
That's awesome.
And with that, though, if you have seen like 1 through 3, or if you've seen the first one, check it out. Rent it. It's definitely worth a watch.
It's a fun one.
They get I would say the first 5 are absolutely worth a watch.
I mean, I like up to part 7.
Part 7,
I like Curse and Retro pretty well.
Retro's a lot of fun, too.
But I will tell you also, you could probably get away with showing your young kids Puppet Master 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So if you have a kid who's maybe 10, 11, 12, and you want to like gently introduce them to Puppet Master, this is the one that probably won't give them nightmares.
Yeah, I would say that's
because the first Puppet Master, and especially the second one, will give you nightmares.
Second one's
the
scary.
human-sized dolls in part 2 are worthy of a nightmare.
Yes. So we always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. The first one I have for this week, naturally, I've got to go with Puppet Master 5 so you can see the rest of the story.
Fair.
Puppet Master 5, 1994. The puppets battle their most powerful enemy yet as they protect their new master from the demon god that created the secret of life. And then my second recommendation is 1986 Dolls. A dysfunctional family of 3 stop by a mansion during a storm. Father, stepmother, and child. The child discovers that the elderly owners are magical toy makers and have a haunted collection of dolls.
That's a really good recommendation.
It's such a good movie, too.
I'm going to go on the Burr side of things.
Okay.
if you liked this and you like seeing what Burr can do when he's having fun, but he doesn't have a lot to work with, Night of the Scarecrow is a great one. I mean, it's basically a Scarecrow Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
He starts just cracking wise, and it has one of the most uncomfortable orgy scenes.
He does command an orgy at one point, yes.
So, that's my suggestion. I was blowing really good smoke rings until I started thinking about it.
Do we have any emails for this week?
You know what? We do.
Oh.
Do I have my phone? I do.
Do I have my phone?
I was too busy sneaking the cigar in so you
I
didn't
know
know about it. I wanted to surprise you. Man, I've been sweating. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we got one from our good buddy Patrick.
Okay.
He sent in, the subject line is Halloween movie.
Awesome.
Love the podcast, guys. I hope you will do a Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. We'll do Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Thanks, Patrick. P.S. Find your yellow belt, Dave.
I'm working on it. Is that an option for you?
I've never seen it.
I know you haven't seen it.
I'd be willing to watch it.
Okay.
It probably won't be for Halloween.
No,
because we want to.
I would rather show it to you than us commit, because if it's one that you don't like, you're really not going to like it.
Okay. Well, if I do like it, then let's do a show on it.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Probably not for Halloween.
Yeah.
We want to do as many movies that take place on Halloween as possible for the Halloween special, and we have 5 Tuesdays that we're going to be doing our weekly spooky Do You Even movie crossover show, which I'm really looking forward to.
So would you like to know what we're talking about next week on the show?
I mean, will I get to cry again?
Possibly. I mean, we're going back to school and back in action.
Well, back in school will make me cry.
Class of 1984 from 1982.
It's such a good movie.
This is one that if you are not familiar with, look it up for one, or watch it before next week, because there's a lot to talk about in this movie simply from the movie itself.
It's phenomenal.
Insane.
Super wild. It is one of the best... what's his name? I
Roddy McDowall.
One of the best performances of Roddy McDowall's career. It should be just like a trashy piece of exploitation, but it ends up being a very good film about about like poor teenagers, about the education system letting people down, about students causing their own failures, about the frustration of the older generation. I actually have a lot of opinions about Class of 1984.
I'm so excited.
So I really love that film.
Directed by Mark Lester, by the way, who brought us Commando and Extreme Justice.
Yeah, didn't he also do Night of the Running Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Lester. I think the 90s were his best
He also
period.
did Pterodactyl.
I like Pterodactyl.
With Coolio.
With Coolio.
Rest in peace.
Well, and before we get out of here,
yes, sir.
I want to remind you, you can email us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys. While sometimes we record the show in advance, quite a ways, in October, we're going to do that a little less so that we can answer your emails as they come in, so you can tell us what you thought of last week's show and things like that. We're going to try and keep it a little bit more loosey-goosey.
I would say we'll probably the next 3 months, if we can swing, it'll probably be a little bit more.
We'll probably be able to.
Because holiday stuff,
So email us there. Go to doyouevenmovie.com for anything you want to know about the show, whether you want to support us on Patreon, get a t-shirt. Excuse me. I never drink soda because I burp.
I know. I feel you.
But we do have t-shirts. We have a Patreon. We have all kinds of stuff for you to check out. And it's also another way to get a hold of us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like it and subscribe. If you're listening to us on your podcasting app, we would love a 5-star rating, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Hell yes.
So I guess that's about all. My mother just texted me. She's worried because I'm on new medicine. So I think that is as good a time as any to say thank you all for joining me for this birthday edition of Do You Even Movie.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you. I'm always happy to cry on camera. Anyway, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Sutek.